Yo, what's going on, y'all? Happy Wednesday. And per usual, it is 7 where we are, and it's time to give you that midweek zhuzh. So, you know the drill. Share this with a friend, get cozy, join the conversation, and stay tuned. Oh my gosh, you guys. So I have been trying to get this to show up on Facebook the proper way, and usually it shows up on my page. But in order to make this thing an event and make it like something easily shareable, it don't want to do it. It don't want to do it. But that's okay because we're still having the conversation anyway. And you know I'm not having this conversation by myself. So let me bring dating and relationship consultant in Nyatu Marvel to the stage.
Hey, Jamie.
What's going on? Why is Facebook torturing my soul?
I'm like, Mark Zuckerberg, get it together. What is going on?
It's insane because it's insane. Let me see. Is it running on your page? Let me look. It might be.
It might be.
Because if you did it normal, when I do it normal, it runs on my page. But I tried to add it to the event so that way we could share it and people could have the link. And that requires, like, I'm a coder at this point. Like,
we fix people's hearts and mentalities and spirits. We do not fix Facebook. We are not IT people in this space.
It's not for me. It's just not for me. But I'm looking forward to this anyway because, you know, the YouTube gang is in the house. What's going on?
YouTube gang in the building.
We got our regular showing. You are pretty popular on Facebook. I was looking at your page. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it works out for me on Facebook a little bit.
I was like, they go hard for Nyatu Marvel on Facebook. I feel allergic. Indeed. I am allergic. I'm allergic to Facebook. So we gonna just anyway.
It's hard to be like popping on all the platforms at once. It's like usually people have one or two, and you know the masters have everything cracking. But yeah, when you building, one usually builds up faster than the other, and hopefully you can transfer that success onto the other platforms.
Facts. And I still have not nailed that. However, I'm primarily on Instagram, but my YouTube is doing well. So we're just gonna see.
You're gonna keep going, keep it pushing.
We're just gonna keep it pushing. So how are you doing this Wednesday?
I am good. It's a winning Wednesday. I don't know if I've had a bad Wednesday. I did have a weird couple of days coming off the weekend, but I was able to pull it together Monday night, and here we are on Winning Wednesday, ready to take on the world.
I love it. That's what I'm talking about. So you know how it goes. I found this video and I thought it was great, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. So y'all ready to dive into this clip? Let's get into it.
Men that get cheated on, they tend to leave the relationship because they are taught to replace their injuries, not work through it. While when women are cheated on, society has taught them to fight for their family. So they tend to be more willing to work through the infidelity and rebuild the relationship. The man is out, already looking for a replacement. So now,
Hold on. No. You ain't about to drop all those bombs and then get into. I need you to hold your thought because we're getting deep.
I mean,
we're getting deep and we not even.
Oh my God, I love it.
Alrighty then.
First of all, the guy that was listening, his face cracked me up. He was like he was really like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this before.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think about the clip overall and the idea of what they had to share when it comes to infidelity and the way men versus women react, handle, and deal with it?
It was funny. I listened to the video and then I peeked at the comments, and one of the comments at the top just really, in my humble opinion, spelled it out. It's like the man pursues the woman, right? So it's like I either got at you in person or jumped in your inbox, and I pursued you, and I asked them, you're out on a date, and I bought food, and I bought drinks, and I had to impress you with who I am and all of these things to get you to be in a relationship with me, and you cheat. That's why we don't deal with cheating, because we're the ones who had to, be on what are they, the 90-day probation or whatever it is, to be able to get this done. And so I believe that is a big reason why that we receive that differently. Another reason is there's a generalization that women are more emotionally attached to their sexual experiences, and so it's hard for a man to imagine that something purely physical just happened and that man did not, while penetrating you, penetrate your heart, your spirit, and your mind. And so this is why it's so unacceptable to us, and this is why it's such a betrayal to us, because in our minds, we're the hunters, we're the conquerors. So if we cheat, and this doesn't make cheating right, but in the man's mind, he just conquered that woman. So what? But when another man conquers your woman, all bets are off. And even, if a man tries to accept that, which I'm sure some men have been able to, but there are many a man who, even if they try to accept it, that their soul will never, or training and conditioning, whichever one you like to use as the source, but we just cannot accept it.
Gosh, it's so, you brought up really great points, and they're all very valid, but I feel like, it feels like not unfair, but just kind of like, you guys do court. It is your job or your duty to go after what you want, show what it's going to be, all of this. But it takes as much almost for us to oblige to that, because we have to, it's a very vulnerable position to say yes to a man. Like, we have to actually trust you. It is a risk for us to give ourselves over as much as it is for you guys to put on, I guess you could say, the performance required in order to land us in the first place. And I feel like, why? Almost because of what you just said, being the ones to put on the performance to get the thing. And you didn't say that you're entitled to the fidelity, so to speak, but it's like, how do I say? It's very challenging to, I almost feel like women get into it just a little bit deeper. I think it takes guys a little bit more time to get in as deep, and I could be wrong, but it seems like it takes guys a little bit more time to get in as deep because of the replacement factor. Because that's what he was saying on the clip, like, we're taught to replace and blah, blah, blah. And in my experience, I do feel like guys just, whether they're compartmentalizing or rolling over the facts or not really letting the pain roll through them and going through the things, it's just, it appears that things roll off your back and you can move on quicker and easier from certain things. Whereas women, I feel like all of this really penetrates our soul. Like, our hearts are very invested. We are very invested in you guys when we say yes. It is if we say yes, majority of the time, it is a full body yes. And that is just so risky. But we are taught, like, to be the ride or die, to stick around for our family. Men are going to cheat. We're conditioned that men are going to cheat. All men cheat. Expecting monogamy is a lot. And, most guys are wired to multiple women and da-da-da-da. So these are the narratives that we get. But then you guys get the narrative like, well, we did all this work to get her. And if this guy had sex with her, it must have been more emotional and this and that. Like, oh, hell no. But we're thinking like, dang, I gave my whole self over to this and I'm just supposed to accept that he cheated, or that he says he's not a cheater and he can be monogamous. But if it happens, I'm supposed to suck it up because that's how men are wired. Like, we're not getting equal information that's really going to support each other in a situation like this, because none of it flies. Nobody should be cheating on anybody. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like I'm all over the place, but
sure.
I'm kind of like,
Sure. So this is such an interesting dynamic to me because, you know, I'm not exactly sure where the extra pressure for women to tolerate infidelity came from. I'm not sure what the origins of that, because I'm not aware of the campaign that men went on that was saying, hey, look, we cheating and y'all just need to accept it. I am aware of a circumstance. In fact, I just had a big discussion on my page about our grandparents' era versus our era. And so maybe, you know, that was the influence. It's like, hey, he has the money, he runs the house. I really can't go off and be on my own. And so that is the pressure to accept, but that is not an emotional pressure to accept. That's a financial and a you know, physical survival well-being pressure to accept. But I know and understand that the first people who had to deal with cheating in Black culture in America, unfortunately, is the man, because slave masters were doing whatever they wanted to do. And so I think that the trauma of that is in our DNA, and that is what causes us to use other women as a painkiller, as ibuprofen, for that hurt that came along with our women. And not, so it's like, okay, he forces you the first time, and we're both just sick about it. I can't protect you, you're sick, I can't protect you, we both hate it, da 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 da. Then you start to get perks and privileges because of it. And you may not, you know, you didn't ask for him, you didn't ask for him to pick you out of the group, you didn't ask for him to rape you or anything, but now you're getting perks and privileges because of it. And because you start to get perks and privileges out of it, and because even unconsciously you begin to you respect the slave master, not just in his face, but now overall a little more. And because he's bossing up, maybe there's a little involuntary admiration going there. And because you're being raped on the regular, it's like, so now you learn to please him a little more and manipulate for more perks and more privileges. And all the while, this Black man had to sit there and observe all of that, which is, you know, none of our fault, but you can't even imagine the torture. And a lot of people don't know that, you know, there's trauma inside our DNA, that a lot of us have traumas that we never experienced. So do you know how hard that is to identify and to heal a trauma you got? And the only way you're gonna even figure this out is like if you talk to a great grandparent to say, oh, okay, you know, that is where that is coming from. That also in this world, there are a lot of things, obstacles and challenges to us feeling like men, because we're seeing all these examples, even if it's not directly. If we pick up our phone or we turn on the television, there's always an example of us not being treated as men. So whether it's a sports figure being silenced, or whether it's the police doing something to another one of us, or, you know, or going on social media and Black women talking about Black men being broke or homosexuals or whatever the issue is with us this week.
So many issues.
That it becomes a struggle, right? And so if you're not feeling like a man at work, and you're not feeling like a man on the streets because the police just pulled you over and treated you like you are not a citizen, don't have any rights, and then you come home and there's an issue here, you're looking for some platform, some venue, some opportunity to feel like a man. And sex, you know, makes you feel like a man. It can provide, even if it's temporary, it can provide that that feeling that you're looking for, because all these other things are out of control and beyond your control. So it's like, okay, in this space, right this moment, I am the man, I'm the conqueror, I'm being treated as the man. And it's like, you know, a little slice of heaven. It's an oasis in this world.
Yeah, I mean, again, great points. And SJ says too, household dynamics aren't like that as much anymore, which I agree. But what you're saying too, and Nyatu, is like so much carries over and so much unbeknownst to us that it can be hard to sift through the bloodline to figure out why some stuff just is what it is. And you're right. And this is what, you know, makes it tough for me about Black men, is because of all the things you said. The media is constantly feeding, obviously because it's happening when it comes to the police brutality, you know, but you're seeing that in your face, which is gotta be triggering something, which is what you spoke of earlier, back in the days when we weren't even treated as nothing but, what, 3/5 of a human. So it's triggering. We don't know why. We're seeing Black men and the sports being silenced and this and that. Like, it's just looking real unfair and very lopsided, and it's in our face every day, all day. But this is where I hope we can get to the point where, as just Black people, especially in America, to kind of, I just hate it, but almost to kind of like rise above that, because if we're your women, we're getting the runoff from that. So yes, as much as it may feel like, you know, like we're supposed to understand everything that I just said and be like, well, this is why he feels that way and he cheated, so, you know, this is what happened. But we can't break up the family, because a lot of the times it is like we have the kids or we have the marriage, and due to all the stuff in society, a lot of the times we're not believing in monogamy like we should. We're kind of bracing ourselves to know at some point this dude gonna cheat, and that's not. But this is, you know, this is what we have to. So even when we say yes to you and you guys do the courting and all this and that, not like, I think there is like that same little fear, something that runs underneath, like, okay, well, what are we gonna have to deal with when it comes to this guy? Because a lot of the times, like what we're seeing is just now men are having conversations about everything that they have to deal with. But as much as we can be compassionate about that, we shouldn't be getting, you know, the brunt end of it. But what is it? You know, do we embrace it in full understanding and let it be what it's going to be? Because 9 times out of 10, it's not an emotional attachment. Or do we break up our family? Do we walk away from the father of our children? Do we dissolve marriages because, you know, our heart is broken? I've never cheated on anybody that I've been with, because it's just not my, you know, whatever. And I understand that it happens, but I have been engaged and been cheated on. And it's a real obliteration of the heart, no matter what side you're on. And I got friends, you know, and I even stayed for a while because I didn't want to dissolve what had been built. And, you know, I have friends, they got kids and they're going through this, and they just have to collect and piece themselves together and deal with it. And it's excruciating. It's almost impossible. But it is kind of like what we're taught. Like, this is what guys are going to do. It's not emotional. It's this, it's that. But I feel like, you know, men, I think we're getting just a little bit too comfortable with, oh, all this stuff happens to Black men. They're seen like this. We're shown like this. They get this in society. Okay, but that's not how we gonna work together. You don't get to like crap on me because things look like this for you, because that really puts Black women at the bottom of the entire society. Like, we don't even have our men at that point. So it's just, it's really tricky and it's hard. You know, one last thing I'll say is I watch Love and Marriage Huntsville, and it's really hard for me to watch Melody and Martell. Do you ever watch them?
I don't know nothing. I know that this show exists, but I don't know anything about it.
You know, Melody and Martell were married, and he cheated on her and had a baby, and they got 4 kids. She got to suck it up and deal with looking at him because she got 4 kids by him. So not only did he cheat and he lied, the obliteration of that, she had to divorce him, because it's just like, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
And now she has to deal with, I hate even watching the fact that she has to still talk to this man, because I'm sorry, it's not acceptable. Like, on any level, I don't care what you're feeling. You don't get no excuse or no pass.
Right.
But what
Right.
do? Now you're co-parent to 4 kids. It's just a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot. God bless. I did want to tap into some of the roots of why people are feeling the way that they are feeling, but that is not the sole reason. That just exacerbates what's going on. And so, again, just having a discussion today with a lot of women and men surrounding communication, there's a big problem there, right?
Facts.
And a lot of men don't feel seen and heard in their relationships, that we're trained and conditioned that complaining is feminine. So we're hesitant to complain. I have a mindset of don't sweat the small things, right? But then if I wait until something builds up, then my timing and my delivery is bad because I'm frustrated, right? But I will say, and I take responsibility for it, the women that I have attracted and chosen, the majority of them, when I express an issue and a concern, within 60 to 120 seconds, it becomes about how my concern made my woman feel. And then we spend days reassuring and dealing with and repairing how she feels about what I said, and never taking accountability for the issues that I have brought up, much less change behavior. And so discussing with a couple of other gentlemen today, it's like, it's sad to say, but it literally is much easier to go out and cheat than it is to have a conversation that requires accountability with a percentage of the woman population. Definitely not going to say all, in no position to say most, but certainly a significant enough amount of the population. I'm 48 years old. I can count on one hand how many women were pretty good at taking accountability when I bring an issue to the table. Outside of that, 60 to 120 seconds before it becomes all about the woman. And so I've seen, maybe we'll do a reaction video. I'll send you a video that I have been planning to do a reaction video to by myself before we started doing this. But, the gentleman said that. He said, hey, as soon as we express our concerns, all this emotion comes out. And I assumed that it was always emotional manipulation, but I read more and I found out that sometimes if a person has been abused, they will respond this way, even if you're not the abuser, because they're triggered. But it feels like emotional manipulation if I try to tell you something and I'm not frustrated, I asked you if I could tell you about something, or I told you I wasn't feeling so great and you asked me why, which opens the door for me to tell you what's bothering me, and I tell you what's bothering me. And it's like, like a terrorist bomb just dropped or something. It's like, well, how does this affect me, and what does this mean about how you feel about me? And so, I don't know what to do with that. I had one young lady say, hey, you treat me like a goddess, you treat me like a queen, you put me up on this pedestal, and then if you tell me my shoe is untied, it feels so different from all the queening and the goddessing and not just using the words, but the treatment, that it's just difficult to manage. And so, if we don't have an outlet, we're going to seek an outlet elsewhere. So there's a movie with Denzel Washington called Fences, and he worked hard. He came home, he gave his wife his whole check. But when he got home, he wanted to drink a beer. He wanted to talk smack about when he was younger and a good baseball player and how he almost went to the league, right, with his friend. And every time she would be like, you wasn't that good. You didn't hit that many home runs. It wasn't da-da-da-da-da. And towards the end of the movie, you found out that he had a baby on the side, and they showed a little clip. And when he was going with that other woman, she was like, that's right. If it wasn't for this, you was going to be Jackie Robinson. You know what I mean? So he felt seen and heard at the mistress's house. And even though his wife was a good wife. And I don't think that she was doing it on purpose. Like, she was totally oblivious, Viola Davis, to what she was doing, but she was shooting him up. She would not let him have his feel-good moment. And, you know, obviously at the job, they weren't letting him have any feel-good moments out in the world. So there's just a lot of things that, you know, we can be unaware of in relationships, men and women. I've never been a woman, so I'm going to be oblivious to some things until you introduce them to me. There's no way I'm going to see them on my own. It's just not possible. I'm not in those shoes, and vice versa, that there's just some things that women are unaware of. And, you know, a lot of women need to get a lot better at listening. Because you say something, it gets exaggerated, it gets twisted, it gets turned into something else. You rearrange my words and paraphrase it to make it mean something else. And now you're right and I'm wrong. And that's not what I said. That's not what I did. None of that.
You are 100% right.
Yeah, what can I do? So it's I'm not saying that women should accept cheating. I'm not saying that it's cool for men to cheat, but I know if we explore the how and the when and the where and the why and the what, then we can begin to come up with some solutions. But I guarantee you, if more men felt seen and heard in their relationships and inside of their households, that this wouldn't be an issue. But I don't want to, again, blame it totally on that. Sometimes men and women as children were always shut down and silenced when they wanted to express a concern or express something that didn't feel so good to them or so healthy to them. And so they become not good at expressing themselves, that they become adults who aren't really good at expressing themselves. Also, women tend to a lot of times be better at expressing themselves and better at debate. So I'm pretty smart. It's, you know, you can't turn it around on me and I don't know it.
Right.
But some women can turn it around on him and he don't even remember nothing else. She didn't put her emotions and tears and all of that on him, and he can't articulate it. And so people are wondering why sometimes men ghost, or sometimes men come on strong at first and then later not so much. Sometimes men have trouble identifying what's bothering them. We know something's bothering us, but we have trouble identifying it. One, because there's so many things that we categorize as, you know, feminine or not manly, right? To even feel that way. So men need to feel safe in relationships, but it's not manly to say that. It's not manly to feel that. It's not manly to feel vulnerable. So if we're vulnerable with anybody and it's weaponized against us, it's going to be really hard to get that man to try that again.
Yeah, we have to change that but what you're saying, it makes sense, you know, and I hear that a lot from men. So I ain't even gonna hold you on that. I get it, you know, and being that I am a woman, I understand how I think our emotions, because they run really high and it's different, you know, the whole testosterone versus whatever. I do think that when certain things are said, it can be taken personal. And, you know, women get flustered and cry, you know, all this stuff. It takes a level of maturity to take a deep breath and be like, you know, you might hear something you don't like, but especially when you're dealing with a good man, can you just take the deep breath and understand that this is going to be something that strengthens the relationship? But I think it does take time to get to the point where a woman matures enough to understand the value of that and the value of it because of the stuff that you just shared. You know, everything is considered feminine. Vulnerability is hard for this and that. And it's hard to, if you didn't grow up able to express and articulate, then how all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? That takes the maturation on the man's end to be able to be like, F it, I gotta say it anyway, you know? And suffer the consequences should there be any. And that it's hard, you know, it's really challenging. And that's why I love having these conversations, because the more we discuss, the more we can get to the root and pull back the layers and kind of see where the base that people are coming from and the ideas and the filtration system that is, you know, creating the separation. Because you know, I just want I just watched a video before we got on, maybe like a couple hours before, and a guy was like, and I had to retweet it because I was like, I can't hold him. He was like, you know, women are always talking about y'all want emotional, intelligent men, da 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 da. But then when you get one, and I got something to say, and you don't know how to handle it, you need to realize that you ain't never had an emotional, intelligent man before. So there might be things about me that you don't understand how to even deal with. And we got to eat that as women.
God bless that man.
God bless that man.
God bless his heart. We got to protect that man, telling that truth right there, because it is, I mean, and I'm not even, you know, I'm not even talking about deep things. You know, I shared on the post earlier. It's like I saw a woman cooking, and I'm like, that's a fire hazard. What you're doing right now, right there. No,
just the basics.
I'm like, you're gonna burn yourself, or you're gonna burn the house down, or both. She was like, I've been cooking like this for 20 years. I don't, you know, either you can be quiet or you could do the cooking. Yeah, you could do the cooking. So then 2 weeks later, I saw her. She had this burn on her arm. I was like, oh, babe, what happened to you? He said, I was doing that thing that you told me not to do because it was probably going to result in me getting burned. That's how I burned my arm. So this wasn't about me and pleasing me or making me feel good. This was about your own protection. Right? I was with a lady. She got upset. She about to walk it off. Well, no, not in the hood at late at night. That's not, don't do that. They've been robbing people in Chicago. No. And, you know, like Love Jones, she's stomping off like somebody stole your bike. Like Lorenz Tate told her, stomping off like somebody stole your bike. So, you know, so if I can't even tell you that, I'm just trying to protect you. I have no personal interest in this. There's no win in it for me. It's only can help you. And I can't even tell you that. There's a huge communication problem, you know, between, you know, men and women, and, you know, Black men and Black women are men and women. So, you know, there is a real, you know, issue there for some reason. I don't think, you know, that it has anything to do with me. I think things occurred, you know, prior to this that are making women feel like they got to call the shots for themselves or make all the decision for themselves. Also, you know, the narrative is always that it's the men cheating, but truth be told, men and women cheat equally as much. The only difference is the women who confide in me privately and anonymously about cheating, when they go back on the social media, they say they hate cheaters.
Dang, man.
Men aren't doing that. They being quiet on the cheater post, right? If they cheat, they're not going around saying I hate cheaters and pretending. But women, I've had hundreds of women comment on cheating posts and say if a woman cheats, it's because, and it had to be the man's fault, because women don't just cheat on their own, and all of this nonsense. A post I'm gonna make next week is telling men, stop lying to your exes. Men tell their exes that they were perfect and that it was all their fault, and women believe that nonsense. And so there's this huge culture of a narrative that men are the only ones doing something wrong. When I compared my grandparents' era to now, all the women were like, nope, those women had to put up with cheating and abuse and da-da-da. So the perception is that marriage was total bliss for every Black man in America in our grandparents' era. And the only problem and the only reason for divorce is because the men were having second families and being abusive and using their financial position as providers to abuse the situation. When a lot of men were coming home and just handing their check to their wife, not knowing where the money went or what it was going to, but letting her know that, hey, everything I got, I'm putting in this household. I am aware of married couples from that era where there wasn't cheating, there wasn't abuse. One of my great uncles, the IRS came, said he owed $70,000. My auntie pulled it out of a shoebox from all the shopping money he had been giving her over the years. She would take half and shop and half and throw it in the shoebox. So if she wanted to leave, I mean, this is in the 70s. She had $70,000 cash sitting in the shoebox. Both of my grandmothers left, and so people are saying they couldn't leave, and everybody's circumstance is different, but apparently some were able to leave. But yeah, there's this myth that everything that's wrong with the world right now is men, and so we do have to take responsibility for our part. We do have to take responsibility as leaders, but it's just not true. It's just not true. Women cheat on good men every day. Women cheat and pretend not to every day. I would love to sit here and tell you that I've been a hero in all of my stories, but I've been the villain. I've been the villain before. And so I spent a period of time in my life where, in order to protect myself as a defense mechanism, I thought to myself, married women are the perfect companion for me, because I'm limited from becoming emotionally attached because I know that they're married. 2, they can't make as many demands on me because they're married. They won't have time to make the demands. And if they complain about anything, I can just say, but you're married.
Right.
And so, I am a testimony to some of the couples that people thought that, everything was perfect, or some of the people who, people are still praising on social media. And I don't think, a circumstance makes you a terrible person overall. But bottom line is that, it happens a lot more than some people would like to tell themselves or admit, women cheating.
Yeah, no, you're right. I actually, 2 of the girls that I do another show with, they're from All the Single Ladies on OWN TV, and both them cheated. So we talk, we talk about it. And, one of them, she's like, I'd never do it again, but it was definitely one of those, she's just like, I'll be upfront and bounce out the relationship before I do that, which that was great. That was her lesson, and I get it. But it was also one of those stories where it's like she keeps telling you and expressing to you the needs, the desires, what's being missed, what's happening. And homie's just carrying on like, and so that was the result of it. Was it right? No. But does it happen? Yeah. Because it's the same thing. We'll go out and all of a sudden, you're so beautiful. You're so smart. We like to get gas too. We like to be seen too. And
I know it.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I completely understand. And then the other girl, I kind of felt bad for her because it was the same thing. She was pleading with her husband about the time and the affection and at least the conversations, because, providing is great, but it isn't, it's not the end all be all, it's a major part of it. And I honor the men that are able to and willing to do that. It's amazing, but you still got to talk to me. You still got to, I'm going to need, all of these things. And so she wasn't getting that from him. And, she was entertaining somebody more on the text and the phone. But that was enough for him he done told her whole family about it. He cut her off. They got a divorce. And it never even got physical. So this kind of reminds me of the clip where it's like, where was the part where he could have sat down and been like, oh, this is like, let me try. What do we need to do? Is it a counseling situation? Do it. But then I see how that works on both sides. Like if what you're saying and what I see a lot of guys say, so it's it's true. I'm not, yeah. How do women get to the level, us women, where we can take accountability and make sure that we're adding to the situation? Because a lot of guys be like, oh, well, women think all they need to do is show up and that's enough. And
yes,
it's not enough. I get it. there has to be participation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it is, you're right. It's just a massive communication barrier. We don't speak the same language, but if we could figure out how to get to the basics. Another thing I was thinking of, I tried to date a guy, and I had to share with him like my trigger, what was going on, how he was making me feel. And I was like, I just need a few days, because this is something that you keep doing, and I'm not going to be passive aggressive. I'm not going to just ghost. I'm not going to pretend I'm busy. I'm letting you know this is bothering me for this reason. This is where it's coming from, and this is what I'm not able to do right now. So I have to take a step back for a moment, and I would, in my honesty, I was hoping to get more conversations about how we can make it work. Is it that why is this hard for you? Why can't you do this? Why can't you, but that
Right.
thing that doesn't allow men to talk and lay it out on the line so I can understand and be met with a level of understanding, it definitely turned into something where, their stuff got the best of them. And it just wasn't, there was no reconciliation, because I'm not going to chase you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So it's the communication is what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, it's the communication.
I agree. A few tips I want to throw out there is that, I see a lot of women who post screenshots of conversations with men to expose them. I've seen a lot of women post screenshots or make posts about them having girlfriend chats where whenever the guy does something wrong, they throw it in the girlfriend chat, and it's a belittle him contest inside of the girlfriend chat. And so there are a lot of things that discourage men, from speaking up. That when men are vulnerable and sensitive, I mean, there are lots of posts on social media right now where it's like, women are going in on men for that. Oh, he too sensitive. Oh, he too, whatever we do, pow, 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 pow. So not only do we have to be concerned about the energy that it's going to take maybe to deal with your response in the moment to what we said, but we don't know where it might go after that, because there are things that are socially acceptable for women that are not socially acceptable for men. So if I started screenshotting my inbox, there's an endless amount of material in my inbox, I would just burn myself up and, turn off every woman who sees me by doing something like that, even though it's true. And even though women do it every day, and even though it's fair game, I see women doing the dating chronicles, and they talk about all of the, the nonsense that they're dealing with in the dating space. I suspect that if I created a series of posts called the Dating Chronicles and exposed, it would be very problematic.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so it's like, women send unsolicited nudes all the time. Men just don't tell. We don't tell. We don't tell. So it's just like, because it's not manly to expose that in our humble opinions, and so yeah, these are all subtle things. A man could be watching you from afar, but he's thinking in the future, even after I get her, I better be careful, or I'm going to be a post, or I'm going to be the laughing stock of all of the girlfriends thread.
I hate that. And
Yeah.
I don't, it's not womanly to do that either, by the way. This is not something that should be done, but with you sharing that and exposing that, it's telling me that neither one of us feels safe. Women don't feel safe, but men don't feel safe either. I understand that's not safe.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. So just
that's not safe.
Again, you and I, we're not here to beat up on people, to hammer down on people, to play the blame game. We just want to talk about some of the reasons why some of these things are happening, brainstorm about what may be potential solutions or changes in behavior that might help. I find that usually when I'm expressing something to a woman, it's really me trying to tell her how to get what she wants from me, more so than I'm trying to get something out of her. It's like, hey, you know, if you want the best version of Nyatu, certain things, you know, have to be in play or else I'm going to feel resentment about giving the best of myself because I don't feel like I'm getting that from you, and not even from a needy space or not getting what I need space, but just not keeping things on an even keel, like everything's going to be equal, but keeping things balanced in the relationship.
This is where we should be all ears. When you're in relationship with someone, you want to nail that.
Hey, you want me to marry you? I want to marry you too. Help me, help you. Help me grow a healthy communication dynamic. Help me grow a relationship where we can have uncomfortable conversations and then get back comfortable after the uncomfortable conversations. You know, I want you to have everything that you want, Black woman. I promise you. And when I tell you something, it is only in hopes that you can pull something from it that will help you get what it is that you really want to desire.
That's
for
fair.
Me or any man.
That's fair. I might have to clip this and put it on the IG just so we can make sure to check ourselves. Like, there has to be that level of maturation and accountability where we can take a deep breath and hear you out. Like, we have to, because we have that expectation as well. So it can't be one-sided. And there are a lot of times, it has to be that. There's really no other way. So I'm not mad at it. And we need to hear it. You know, we need to hear, like, yo, this is what's not happening. This is why, like, I'm just saying. And eat it or starve, girl. Like, if you can't, you know what I mean? You gotta, come on. And we're capable of it. And that's why I'm saying it like that. We're so capable. And 9 times out of 10, like, that's what we want to do. Like, we want to, like, blow your mind as much as, you know, and vice versa, which is how it should be. So yeah, that is an excellent point, and it needs to be said and reiterated.
Yeah, fellas, I know sometimes in the short term, it feels like I can just slide over here and get what I need and, you know, try again another day. I know that sometimes expressing yourself can be emotionally and energetically draining and taxing, but in the long run, we're doing ourselves a disservice because we're creating this this narrative that's not true. We're creating this storyline, and we're, you know, going along with the storyline that's really not true, and it's making it even more difficult to achieve healthy relationships. So, men, stop ignoring your needs. Stop being silent about your needs. If you're, you know, not in a relationship, you know, maybe start sharing things on social media. So that way it's in a non-confrontational way. It's not offending the specific person, you know, that you're with, but one way or the other, we have to start being vocal about the issues and concerns and the needs that we have. Otherwise, women don't think we have any.
It's facts.
Right? And they think we just natural born cheaters. And, you know, even some men have been sold that. You know, my son is like, oh, they say about this side of the family. I'm like, man, look, do not buy into that. Do not buy into that. That, you know, but if we're not saying anything, then, you know, this will just continue and go on and on. It's cyclical, and I want to fix it.
Yeah, and women will think we just need to show up because you ain't saying nothing about nothing. So my pretty face, you know, we think we're doing, if we're cooking for you, doing this, showing up, looking cute. Yeah, we might think that's enough because you didn't say, well, you know, it's not my favorite when you do this, or I really would like this, or, you know.
Right.
And that's where I think women get part of that misconception, you know, as well. And one thing to kind of piggyback off of what you said with men speaking up, I also want men not to look at all of this stuff and think it has anything to, like, please focus on the woman in front of you. Trust yourself enough to focus on the woman in front of you and what she got going on. Because if you're looking at all this other stuff and, oh, women post, women go on girls trips and probably touching on each other and messing with all the bus boys, and women do this, and I'm hearing the craziest stuff. And I'm like, I never heard that, seen that, felt that. And you're operating from a false narrative. And not only that, but it's not allowing you to show up like the gentleman you are. Now you think you don't want to show up in the fullness of who you really are because you think all women's just gonna take advantage, or all women this, all women that. And because we don't get to do that. I don't get to say that because men cheat, I'm just gonna cheat too. I got standards and values of my own, and I'm just gonna have to stick to it regardless of who I decide to entertain and whether it works or not, and whatever they do. If he decides to do that, that's on him. I'm not gonna change my character and say, well, I'm just gonna cheat too because dudes is gonna. So please be who you're gonna be. If you get flowers on the first date, do it. If she think you a simp off that don't mean don't get flowers on the first date for the next girl. It just means she wasn't able to appreciate that. But to tailor the beauty of who you've cultivated yourself and believe yourself to be because of all the stuff you're seeing or stuff that you went through, like the next woman is really missing out, and we can feel and see that. Neither one of us should be doing that to each other and changing the character of who we are because of stuff we've seen, heard, or been through.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
that's universal.
Yeah.
To everybody.
That applies to everybody. Yeah. So this was such a good conversation. Per usual, I hope we get it together one way or another, one day or another. But yeah, this was good. So do you want to tell the people where they can find you and all your amazing stuff?
Sure. So as you can see my name on the screen, and Nyatu Marvelous Hitch, that's who I am. On Instagram, just no spaces in between the words. On Facebook, I'm just in Nyatu Marvel. I'm not active on Twitter anymore, and I haven't gotten a TikTok yet. But we talked about this last week. I'm going to get it together. You can go to thehitchagency.com. There's some great blogs and information about relationship dynamics, communication, things of that nature. Also, you can sign up for a free 15-minute consultation, and you can find out if you and I are a good fit, what it is that I do, how it is that I do it, and what you can expect if you come to me for my services. And yeah, enhance, advance, and romance your life with Hitch.
Sold. No, but that's amazing. And you're really good at what you do. And I can tell whether your clients are men or women, how much, or couples, how much you're able to help and serve. And we need it. So this is not something I want people to ignore because you think you good. Like, we need the help. We need the guidance. We need the reminders. So yes, y'all get into that. And you know the drill. You can find me here on Instagram primarily. And I have all the links there. For you guys to connect with me. You know, ladies, if you're in a space where you want to get out of a rut and grow and evolve, and you keep coming up against the same things, whether it be work or relationships, and you're just tired of the mundane, then get sassy. And we can have a 20-minute conversation about getting to the root of that, because sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to see what you can't see and why you keep doing the same things. And generally it's something very, very small, but that small thing is determining your whole life. So, you know, let's work on it. Let's get to it, and let's have some fun in the process. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm going to get Facebook together. I promise. I'm going to figure this out.
Happy Wednesday night, everybody.
Okay. All right, y'all. See you next week. Peace.